Welcome back. President Trump is in the Carolinas. His visit comes one day after celebrating his acquittal in the Senate impeachment trial.
And Ben Hoover is live in Charlotte. So Ben, the president spoke at a community college earlier this afternoon. Tell us a little bit about what he had to say.
Well, Diane and Jennifer, the president just didn't come here to speak to a community college. It is, of course, officially campaign season, so he came here to raise some money, which he will do at a fundraising event later on tonight here in Charlotte. Here's a look inside that auditorium, that theater where the president spoke just a short time ago at this Urban Development Summit, something not billed necessarily as a campaign rally since it is closed to the public, but it certainly looked and felt like one. The president's visit is part of what's called the North Carolina Opportunity Now Summit, talking about things like opportunity zones, which are economic development ways for low-income areas to get a head up. Also, tax incentives for businesses who invest in these areas. This, of course, caps off a very busy week for President Trump that started with his State of the Union address, followed by his acquittal on those 2 articles of impeachment, and then yesterday when he was out celebrating the outcome of the impeachment trial. He spoke for about an hour today, weaving in and out of the economic topics at hand today, also taking aim at his opponents, the Democrats. And right here you'll hear the president as he talks about the problems that the Democrats had with the caucuses in Iowa.
Let's see, who won? And it turned out to be Pete Buttigieg, whoever the hell that is. Mayor Pete. Yeah. Explain that one to me. Someday you...
On the stage with the president today, a couple of upstate congressmen, in fact, Representative William Timmons, also Representative Ralph Norman, they're right behind the president as he spoke today. In fact, they both rode on Air Force One on their way from Washington here to Charlotte today. They were part of the South Carolina delegation, a big part of the delegation that took that ride on the plane with the president today. Coming up a little bit later here on the News at 4, we're going to talk a little bit more about these opportunity zones. That's something that the Greenville area is, in fact, very familiar with. There was a huge convention last fall. We'll talk about those opportunity zones and what that means for areas like Charlotte and even Greenville. Diane and Jennifer, back to you.
Ben, obviously this is a key time right after the president's acquittal to make a campaign stop. Any word on why he chose Charlotte to go to so soon?
He chose this summit in particular because this is what you're hearing. You heard a lot of it in the State of the Union address, these opportunity zones. This is a big economic initiative that the Trump administration is pushing, and I think it's probably going to be something that you're going to hear a lot about in the campaign as well. So particularly with this summit, in fact, where they are talking about things like urban development, they also talked about things like prisoner reentry programs to get back into the workforce for former inmates.
All right, and an important state to win over voters as well. All right, thank you, Ben. Well, happening tonight, 7 Democratic presidential candidates are gearing up for a debate in New Hampshire just ahead of the state's primary next week.
That's right. Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar, Bernie Sanders, Tom Steyer, Elizabeth Warren, and Andrew Yang will appear on the stage in Manchester.
And let's check back in now with